Okay, this is Federalist 17, Part 2. If you can, make sure you watch History Channel's 2 series on the American Revolution and Founding Fathers. That would help you understand the reading of the Federalist, the text of the Federalist much better. It will help you with the events that were going on at the time and why Americans decided to write this new Constitution and wanted to get rid of their first Constitution, the Articles of Confederation. Okay, it is a known fact in human nature that its affections are commonly weak in proportion to the distance or diffusiveness of the object. Upon the same principle that a man is more attached to his family than to his neighborhood than to the community at large. To this the people of each state would be apt to feel a stronger bias towards their local governments than towards the government of the Union, unless the force of that principle should be destroyed by a much better administration of the latter. In other words, people are going to be very close and attached to their state government, unless the state government is awful. Then people will be looking to their national government, to their federal government for help. So here Hamilton is letting the critics know that yes, we are going to have a federal government, but your state governments will be there. They will be the main government that you will be dealing with. Federal government is going to only be there for commerce, treaties, war, and things like that. Enumerated items. There are a few things that the federal government will do for you, but majority of everything that is done by the state government. This strong propensity of the human heart would find powerful auxiliaries in the objects of state regulation. The variety of more minute interests which will necessarily fall under the superintendence of the local administrations and which will form so many rivulets of influence running through every part of the society cannot be particularized without involving a detail too tedious and uninteresting to compensate for the instruction it might afford. There is one transcendent advantage belonging to the province of the state governments, which alone suffices to place the matter in a clear and satisfactory light. I mean the ordinary administration of criminal and civil justice. This, of all others, is the most powerful, most universal, and most attractive source of popular obedience and attachment. It is this which, being the immediate and visible guardian of life and property, having its benefits and its terrors in constant activity before the public eye, regulating all those personal interests and familiar concerns to which the sensibility of individuals is more immediately awake, contributes more than any other circumstance to impressing upon the minds of the people affection, esteem, and reverence towards the government. This great cement of society which will diffuse itself wholly through the channels of the particular government, independent of all other causes of influence, would ensure them so decided an empire over their respective citizens as to render them at all times a complete counterpoise and not unfrequently dangerous rivals to the power of the Union. So majority of your dealings will be with the state government. State government is the government that is going to be very influential in your life. So it's not the government of the Union. So do not worry. Do not be afraid that your state government will lose its power. The operations of the national government, on the other hand, falling less immediately under the observation of the mass of the citizens, the benefits derived from it will chiefly be received and attended to by speculative men. Speculative here means thinking man. Relating to more general interests, they will be less apt to come home to the feelings of the people, and in proportion less likely to inspire an habitual sense of obligation and an active sentiment of attachment. The reasoning on this head has been abundantly exemplified by the experience of all federal constitutions with which we are acquainted, and of all others which have borne the least analogy to them. Though the ancient feudal systems were not, strictly speaking, confederacies, yet they partook of the nature of that species of association. There was a common head, chieftain, or sovereign, whose authority extended over the whole nation, and a number of subordinate vassals or feudatories who had large portions of land allotted to them, and numerous trains of inferior vassals or retainers, who occupied and cultivated that land upon the tenure of fealty or obedience to the persons of whom they held it. Each principal vassal was a kind of sovereign within his particular demesnes. The consequence of this situation were a continual opposition to the authority of the sovereign and frequent wars between the great barons or chief feudatories themselves. The power of the head of the nation was commonly too weak either to preserve the public peace or to protect the people against the oppressions of their immediate lords. This period of European affairs is emphatically styled by historians the times of feudal anarchy. So if we don't unite, our states would be just kind of like those feudal systems in Europe, barons that would rule over a part of the land that the king would give them. And these barons, between them, they will always have fights, arguments. And he says that our confederacy right now is almost like these feudal systems. The central government is not strong enough to be able to keep the peace between these states.